There was an urgent need of God to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem to fulfill prophecy. It is funny that among the resident Jews at the time were priests and prophets, including the prophet Ezra. But the only way God chose to rebuild the ruins of the Holy Land was through a political power play. He found in Nehemiah, who was not a prophet, neither was he a priest, but a politician, to find favor with a pagan king who then appointed him governor of Judah and gave the resources for the rebuilding. Throughout scriptures, whenever there is a move to fulfill prophecy, there's always a man in authority sent by God. What was Jesus' message? The kingdom. Not the kingdom of suppressed slaves, but of kings and ambassadors. If you study embassies and their diplomatic engagement, you begin to understand the message of the kingdom Jesus preached. Now, the kingdom he was preaching is not one that cannot wait to have us home, but one that is expecting us to represent its interest here on earth. If it is not what God intends, no matter how holy or religiously correct you try to frame it to appear, you have missed the mark, so it is sin. For example, if Joseph would have turned out to be a priest in his father's house, with a coat of many colors, the heirs to the blessing of his father, it would be termed as righteousness. It would have pleased the cultural, religious norm at the time, but displeased God. If Daniel would have been a prophet amongst his people instead of a prince in a Babylonian system, conventional culture would have called him a man of God when it is not the will of God. You might get the accolades of men, even men of God, and displease God himself. On the other hand, men might castigate and reprove your oppression and yet to get God's approval. Men might call you Cyrus the Persian, but God calls you Cyrus the Anointed. Many of us have reduced God to a God that only wants to make a way of escape from the evil of this world, and not a God that has sent you to govern and to rule over it. According to Jesus himself in Matthew 25, what would determine the sheep from the goat is, did you clothe me? Did you feed me? Did you put a roof over my head? Did you visit my needs in prison and in the hospital? I think this speaks more of a social-political manifesto than it checks the box of a personal consecration. In an attempt to derail and stop Nehemiah in chapter 6 of his book, they connived with the prophet to lure him to the house of God in the guise of protecting him from danger. But he perceived that even though he was a man of God, it was not the voice of God. That the light of the world means that God has not called us to run away from darkness or to pray against it, but for us to become the light that shines in it. Beyond the religious structure that has been manipulated over the years to subject you, you must be discerning to know the will of God and to know your purpose. You see, when purpose is unknown, abuse is inevitable. Don't get me wrong, consecration is very important. It puts you on the right standing with God, but do not confuse it for the mission. If your walk with God ends with consecration, you have practiced religion and not kingdom. God bless you.